So it's so exciting again to be here. We're now going to turn to our first conversation of the day, where I get to speak with two of the amazing leaders behind the PTFI. First, we have John de la Parra, the director of the Food Initiative for the Rockefeller Foundation. Round of applause as he makes his way up. And we have Selena Ahmed, the global director of the Periodic Table of Food Initiative with the American Heart Association. I admire these two folks so much, and I'm so appreciative of their work. Selena, you have some announcements to make before we get started, right?
Absolutely. Good morning. It is such a delight to be here, and thank you for joining this celebration. We have been working hard for the past 3 years in very serious research and development phase. Today, I am thrilled to be going live, bringing PTFI live. We are making 3 launch announcements for the global research community of our foundational offerings, including tools, data, and training on food quality. These resources are poised to expand the frontiers of food knowledge as we know it. The application and translation of these resources will revolutionize food systems with more precise and integrative recommendations for supporting people and the planet. The first announcement is on our tools. For the past 3 years, the PTFI has worked to develop standardized multi-omics tools to answer the question, very basic question, what is in food? Today, we are thrilled to announce the distribution of these tools for the research community. We have a call to action. Please apply to our request for proposals of interest to be considered in our next round of institutions to onboard PTFI tools. Applications for our next round of collaborating institutions will be posted on our website and will be due end of August. Our second announcement is on data. The PTFI has developed its standardized multi-omics tools along with existing protocols and has applied this to profile the comprehensive food biomolecular composition of an initial set of 500 foods from 250 unique species. These data will be made available through 2 customized data interfaces that are open access for the research community. The first one is Verso Biosciences Marker Lab interface, and the second one is the American Heart Association's Precision Medicine platform. The call to action: explore this food data on your favorite foods by setting up an account to access Marker Lab, and also you can join our Data Exploration Challenge to explore PTFI data via AHA's Precision Medicine platform and be eligible to win a cash prize.
Very cool. Everyone likes that, Selena.
I wasn't sure if I was going to say that part, but I'm glad I did. Announcement number 3. We have tremendous amount of data, we have very complex tools, and it really requires capacity strengthening to begin to train the next generation of scientists to utilize these, as well as stakeholders to apply this in ways that are translational. We are thrilled to announce our Good Food Fellows and Food EDU platforms that you'll be hearing about later this afternoon. And you can log onto our website to learn more about those programs. Those are my 3 announcements. Thank you.
Yay, congratulations. Round of applause, please. Thank you so much for sharing all that. I think, especially for the online audience, I'd like to take a step back, and if we can just talk about what the PTFI is and why it's important. And we heard some about the development, but I think that's also important, like how this idea came about and now what it can do. Selena, do you want to go first?
Absolutely. And actually, I think I'm going to pass it to John to answer that question, because John was part of the history before I was.
Sure. So, I mean, the PTFI is a big idea. You're seeing something today. All these things that Selena announced seem almost predetermined, but this really started with an idea that happened, I believe, in a room just maybe right below us or 2 floors down, with a few people that are in this room, including Roy, with this kernel of an idea that we don't have empirical data on our food. We don't have comprehensive data, and we certainly don't have a standardized way of doing that across platforms that could be compared all around the world from different laboratories. From that idea, we started to work. About 4 years ago, I joined the foundation, and we started putting together a team. We brought together the American Heart Association, and the Alliance for Biodiversity and CIAT. And then they ran with this idea. But at the core, it still remained that we needed tools that could be standardized for measuring the full complexity of our foods. At the same time, we were starting to learn from scientific researchers that our foods were much, much more than the approximately 150 compounds that we typically see in most food composition databases. We knew that there were tens of thousands of compounds in our foods, but there was no standardized way to look at those data and to compare them. So that was the core mission. That's really how it started, and we put out a call for centers to apply to become the leaders that were going to run this. We had many amazing applications, including from more than just AHA and the Alliance that are in this room. And we encouraged those that were at the top of the list to talk to each other. And what happened was Greg Mendel, who's here, who's also kind of a core leader of how this all came together, talked to the Alliance. At the time, Andy Jarvis was at the Alliance. And they came together and really formed an idea that became this co-secretariat. And then from there, we decided, this has to be international. We developed, we put out a call for centers of excellence. We now have 9 centers of excellence all around the world, on every major continent. And now it's a truly global effort where people are analyzing the foods that are culturally relevant to them, that are important to the work that they're doing, and we can actually compare foods grown regeneratively versus conventionally, or processed in different ways, fermented, or there's so many ideas in what we often call an enabling platform.
It's very, very exciting. Selena, do you want to add?
John covered that really well. I just wanted to really thank our Centers of Excellence. They were the first partners to onboard PTFI's multi-omics tools and really championing their application in their local economies, their local ecologies, their local cultures, and have been very patient with us as we've been working hard to try to onboard these tools into their institutions, and also developing really exciting research projects to translate that knowledge for community impact. So just really want to thank all of our Centers of Excellence, and we're continuing to grow our ecosystem. We're working with national lab hubs, and the goal is to work with one in each country. So really trying to work with every single country. Going back to what Rory was saying, it's really a collective effort. It really takes a global village.
I want to stay on the topic of the Centers of Excellence for a minute, because I think that, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's really helping democratize what you're doing with the PTFI. How were those Centers of Excellence chosen, and how are they using what you're developing in their own centers?
So how were they chosen? Well, the first Centers of Excellence were actually members of the original cohort that applied to be the Secretariat. And we said, we have so many amazing applications, really any of these institutions would do an amazing job.
Right.
And that's how we first brought on Wageningen and UC Davis. And so they were the first ones. And of course, we immediately noticed, well, we need to have more representation from around the world. There's so much biodiversity and cultural diversity that needs to be represented in this work, and we also want to make sure that the tools are democratized and, like I said, truly answering the questions of the people on the ground in different parts of the world. So we put out a call of action for Centers of Excellence, and we got an amazing collection of applications. Putting out a call is always, it can be a lot of work, but it's really exciting because you get to see who's really aligned with the type of work you're doing. And every group had just amazing ideas, and we brought on one, like I said, at least every continent except Antarctica. We have Centers of Excellence, and 2 in Africa. From there, then we added on the initiatives you'll hear about this afternoon, Food EDU and Good Food Fellows, and we decided that with this cohort of Good Food Fellows, which are fellows finishing masters, PhDs, postdoctoral work in food omics, or the study of the full chemical complexity of food, answering questions that are directly addressing community concerns. We decided to focus on our Global South Centers of Excellence, and it's just been amazing, and everything has gone kind of from there. We developed Food EDU, which is the training for some of these fellows, and also independent training. So yeah,
It's very exciting. Selena?
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add is, when we're building this ecosystem, we really wanted to think about the diverse functions that each institution could play. And so we really wanted to select institutions that came together collectively, that complement each other. And so some are focused more on agriculture, some are focused more on public health and nutrition, and really building on their synergies of those institutions together.
Again, really, really exciting. Thank you for explaining that. One of the things that I think you all talk about is this idea of standardizing data, and it's so needed, but it's so difficult, right? And so I'm wondering how that process, what does that look like?
Yeah, so standardization is just so important. There's just great research that's happening around the world. There's great research projects, folks focused on the climate effects on crop composition. But when you go to the scientific literature and you decide to carry out a meta-analysis, you can't combine that data because it's not harmonized. You can't put it all together because different researchers are using different tools to collect the data. And so we can't really build on science. We can't really understand these globalized trends of how climate change or different agricultural practices are impacting food quality. So standardization really was key, and Roy brought in a great partner, Verso Biosciences, to really lead the charge of developing standardized tools. And Verso has brought in many great partners, again, really taking a global ecosystem to develop these standardized tools. And this has been done. Standardized multi-omics tools have not been developed. So while multi-omics analysis exists, the standardization did not exist before. And so Verso has developed these standardized reagents as well as automated annotation and ways to harmonize the data. And so what I might be running in my lab is the same as a collaborator in China.
So important. Go ahead, John.
I'll just add a little bit to that. The other thing that is important is, and we've alluded to it, is the periodic table of food is not just a database full of foods, the chemical compounds, and the amount, right? It's much more than that. It includes metadata. With any accession into the database, we can annotate that accession with information like where it was grown, how it was grown, how it was processed, and actually it's limitless. We can do all type. We've developed though a metadata module on regenerative agriculture, but we could apply this to climate as well as we're thinking about how climate might affect the composition of our foods and ultimately human health. I think it could be an essential tool for that because now we can track these specific metadata that are attached to any food composition and track that over time as well.
Wow.
I wanted to build on that. That's a great point, John. It's never in isolation. It's always in relation to. Plants and other organisms are producing these biomolecules really because of the complex interactions that they're having in their ecosystems. They're upregulating specific biomolecules, might be because of stress, might be because of stressors like drought, or in agricultural systems, it might be because there's not pesticides applied because it's a regenerative system. And so there's more pathogens in the system, and so the plant is defending itself. And so it's really important to understand those factors that are ultimately impacting food quality, and also how those biomolecules support food plants in their ecosystems and ultimately in our bodies.
Again, so exciting, such a collaborative, great work. We're here to celebrate the PTFI, but I'm always interested in learning what the obstacles were like over these last 3 or more years. Roy touched on some of it, trying to get, partners involved. What were the biggest challenges for you both?
There's been so many obstacles, I don't even know where to start.
You're only seeing the end product here. There's a lot that...
And I guess I would like to say, even as we launch, we see this as as a shower because it's a baby that we've been nurturing, incubating for the past 3 years. And like any baby, you have to realize that it's not a mature product. It has tremendous potential. It's a very robust baby, but you're going to see it's not necessarily walking correctly all the time, and you're going to have to pick it up. And so when you go to the data interfaces and you might see some gaps, just realize that this product it's young, and it's going to continue to just grow and evolve, and learn from all of our learnings. And so to be kind to the baby and to nourish it.
I wonder what's on the baby registry for the PTFI.
There's a
Funding.
really nice registry, and you could speak to Roy about that.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I mean, we have had we've been so blessed with an amazing team. I mean, I look around, and all of you are part of this team. I mean, like, all of you take credit for all of this. I mean, I was just talking to Roy this morning. I mean, we are so lucky to have just so many amazing people working on this, and that has never been a problem. In fact, that's the key to the success of this, is that people have just worked together so well because we've all had a common mission. There hasn't been egos that have taken over and tried to claim the mantle of the PTFI. I mean, it really has been a beautiful process, and we've always had an open mind and vision for all the possibilities. And that's why something that started as maybe to some people a boring and dry database of list of molecules is now enabling the education of people all around the world. We have educational platforms, all the centers of excellence, standardized platforms so people can learn about their foods and connect it to their environment and to their health. I mean, it's that passion in everyone that we've had. We've never had an issue. The one thing that has always been something that has been with me is we just need to get other funders excited about what has started as a basic science investment. And as Roy said, it takes years for that to come to fruition.
Sure.
And Roy and Raj and the people at the foundation have been brave in allowing us to have some space to develop that, which is rare in this day and age. So my hope and my call to action is that if there are funders out there that think this is exciting, now's the time. It's not too late.
Right.
Come on board. There's even more we can do, and we welcome you into this amazing community.
And they should email you directly.
Email me directly, jdelapar@rockfound.org.
You mentioned the lack of egos involved, and so much of this developed during the pandemic, and I wonder if that sort of ability for so many researchers around the globe and so many funders and people who came up with this idea to sort of just focus and concentrate on that, do you think that sort of led to where you are now? Because I feel like it accelerated pretty rapidly.
You want me to? So I actually started at the foundation pretty much a month after the world shut down. So the entire first, 3 years of this project, I never had met any of the people involved. Actually, the first person I met was Anna Herforth, who announced the World Food Map project yesterday. This is the first person I met in person to do with the project. And, it really, and even from that meeting that I had with Anna, that's where, I asked her, well, what is one thing that you wish you could do that you haven't been able to do? And the World Food Map came out of that little short meeting we had.
That's cool.
So, I mean, that's the power of being in person. I think that we learned from that. And now you see the World Food Map is catching on, and there's other funders and everything. It's been amazing. And, so I think we did have, it wasn't the easiest being on Zoom all day, as everyone here knows. But I think we made it work. I don't know if we had, major challenges because of that. I mean, in fact, it enabled an international collaboration because everyone was so used to just jumping on Zoom.
Right.
Other than the time zone differences, we made it work, but it was a lot of work, a lot of meetings online.
Yeah. And I guess, reflecting on that question a little bit more, my own personal decision to join the Periodic Table of Food Initiative, I think, was the prioritization that COVID allowed.
Yeah.
And so I was working on my own research program. It was collaborative and really trying to advance food quality, a paradigm shift to food quality. So much of our agricultural history has focused on crop yields and calories, and really thinking about food quality, but knowing that you can't really do this alone, but it really takes a global village. And so when I learned about the Periodic Table of Food Initiative from Anna Herforth, who learned about it from John, so all of these connections, my priority was really set. And so I think COVID helped our partners come together with priorities that we realized it was important to work together.
I actually forgot about that aspect. I think that's where I talked to Anna about, and the message got back to Selena. So that meeting was really fateful. Yeah.
That's great. One thing that impresses me about the PTFI is this real focus on cultural relevance. And you talked about this paradigm shift to food quality, but it's not just about that. It's really recognizing that people all over the world have their own food traditions and cultures and memories that need to be part of these scientific advances. Again, that's really difficult, though, to combine, and I wonder how you're handling all that.
We're starting to integrate it through research projects that integrate PTFI tools, but are also collecting ethnographic information and stories of food through photographs and visuals. And then also within the data interface, thinking about cultural labels. And so through our metadata, you can learn about some of those cultural aspects. We're still sort of early on that, so you're not going to find that in our data interface, but that's sort of the goal as we move forward, are these cultural labels. Also, our centers of excellence around the world are collecting foods on their local biodiversity, their local edible biodiversity, and so bringing in those common local names of food, so really starting to bring that cultural information forward.
And just if you didn't know, both Selena and I are ethnobotanists, which is a rare kind of, I think, thing in the world, but we're people who study plants and people. That was our original passion. I think we share that passion. That's why we work together so well. And in our audience, we have some of the world's most famous ethnobotanists, Mark Plotkin, Michael Ballack, Alex McAlvey, others. Ethnobotany was kind of a, esoteric study, but I think what we have done is kind of brought it into a new form, which is food. Through food, we can really understand and bring in the richness of culture.
Yeah.
And then we're really blending this very kind of technical science, analytical chemistry, and we're putting it to use to actually celebrate culture.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of, it's beautiful new form of ethnobotany.
Yeah, John and I sometimes say we're building the world's biggest ethnobotanical phytochemistry database.
Nerds. No, I really do think you've made ethnobotany very cool, and I think this is something that folks can aspire to who are, interested in food systems, interested in agriculture, and I think, you've talked about that next generation of leaders and really how to build them, and that's part of it to make this like a cool thing to be involved in. So thank you for that. I think, what I'd love to hear from you and sort of our final moments is what you're most excited about today's conversations. Don't jump in all at once.
Well, I mean, there's so much. I mean, the educational aspect is my secret, real excitement. The Good Food Fellows, I just feel like it can be so transformative. For those of you who don't know, I've been talking to people around the room, but the foundation had this legacy program called, colloquially called Rocky Docs, and it was a training program, particularly with Green Revolution technologies and other things associated with that. That educated people or provided the finishing parts of education for many people around the world. And even today, if you meet someone who is a Rocky Doc, it's an amazing kind of, the foundation is seen as a bright light in their lives that helped to transform that. And now we have this program, Good Food Fellows, which I think is taking a different angle from the kind of technocratic views of the Green Revolution and is looking at community-centered projects.
Right.
That was core to when we developed this program. It had to be community-centered. These ideas had to come from the communities themselves and issues that might be able to be helped or solved by foodomics. Like, are there actual ways you could use food chemistry to, and we have just received, if you look through the pamphlet, if you don't have it yet, there's this really nice, beautiful book that our folks with Good Food EDU and our Food EDU and Good Food Fellows put together. Flip through it, look at the faces of the people that are going to be transformed, the future leaders of the world in this. That to me is just beyond exciting.
Absolutely. Selena?
So the education component also really inspires me and gives me hope. So really excited about the potential of Food EDU as well. And I'm also really interested in the conversations that are going to come out of thinking about the translation and application of our multi-omics tools in different research projects. And so these are foundational resources that are meant to enable other researchers and other programs that are doing their own research. It's just a tool. And so we really want to have conversations about how can this be used. For example, in addition to multi-omics tools for food, we also have multi-omics tools for human serum. How can these tools be used in food as medicine programs? How can these tools be used in food procurement programs for schools? How can these tools be used for regenerative agriculture programs? So really, the conversations on the application of these tools, and of course, the education component is so important. So many times in global conversations, we say the answer is education, but then it stops there.
Sure.
And really, how do we build this forward? How do we actually, walk the education by centering food in all of our education?
So important. I want to congratulate you both and the whole PTFI team. This is amazing work, and I'm so proud to be this very small part of it and helping you announce it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bigger round of applause for them, please. They did incredible work. And so much is coming today, and you'll hear a lot more. I'm happy to take that. Thank you.